Let's add filtering and pagination to our application. At the moment, we don't have that logic. So let's get back to the backend and let's implement that. When we say pagination, it simply means that it is the process of dividing a large amount of content into separate pages. In the context of web application, pagination is used to display a subset of a large dataset at a time, reducing the load on the server and improving the user experience by not overwhelming them with too much data. By the moment, anytime we make a request to fetch or post, indeed we got or post. And in case we have thousands of posts, upon making the request, it's going to fetch the thousands of posts. This is where pagination comes in. And filtering simply means that it is the ability to display a portion of the dataset based on a certain criteria. So for this one, we can say that we want to display all posts by a category, or we can find a post by title. This is what we call filtering. So let's go ahead and implement the filtering and then the pagination. And we're going to do it inside the post controller. To be more specific, the fetching all post. So let's look at the steps. Step number 1 is that we're going to have what is called basic filter. And we are going to use what is called query. Query simply means that it is the additional payload that we append to the URL by using what is called question mark. Let's go ahead and add some dummy query here. For this, I will say title is equal to CSS. This is what we call query. Anything after question mark becomes your query. So here it means optional. So for this, we can access this one in our controller on a property called rec.query. Now, if I go ahead and log the rec and query here as that, and let's make the request, and now as you can see, we have the query here, and we can append more properties. Let's say that I want to filter by category also. Then I'm going to use AND operator, and then category is equal to, let me say, web development or web. Now if I hit send, let's see the query here, and these are my queries. So it means that we can take this one and pass to the find method to filter out. So let's go ahead and build up our query here. So here I'm going to destructure the query from the rec.query as this. And I know that I will take in the category, comma, and then title. And also I will need what is called page for pagination. And then for page, by default, I will say page 1, then provide limit of 10. Now let me explain these two guys. Page 1 simply means that by default, we are going to display some amount of data on the first page. So this is what we call the page 1. And limit simply means that the number of content that we want to show it per page. By default, we are saying that we want to show 10 content at a time. So on page 2, it will start from 11 up to 20. Page 1 is 1 up to 10, and page 2 and page 3 as that. So on the client side, we are going to find a way to move to the next page to display the next content. Alright, so now let's build up our query here. So let me bring the comment here as that. Now I'm going to declare a variable called filter, which is equal to an empty object. Now we are going to add properties to this filter, because the user can decide either to filter a post by searching for a title or to filter by the category. So we are going to append these properties to the filter object. So here, we are going to say that in case the user is filtering by category, then we are going to add the category to the filter property or object as category, which is equal to the category. Likewise, the title. So here, duplicate and then change this one to title and change this one to title here. So now, if you lock the filter object, now let's see in the console, let me remove this and let's make the request. Now let's check the console. As you can see, we have the filter object being as this. So we can now take this one and pass to the find method to filter out. So here, we are going to pass in the filter here as filter. Now, if I do that, let's see the differences now if I hit send. As you can see, we got something different. Why is it so? Because on the post, for the category, the value is object ID. But over here, we are passing in what is called a string. Instead of using this, we are going to use the ID of the category. So now let me fetch all categories and then use this one for HTML. And now back to the fetching, I'm going to use this one instead. And send. Now, as you can see, we got empty result. This means that we don't have a category called HTML with a title of CSS. But if I remove the title here and now I'm filtering out by category. With this one, let's see. As you can see, we got some post that belongs to the HTML category. That is how it's going to work. Now we know that the filtering is working. Now let's finish up with the title. For the title, the user can decide to pass in upper cases or lower cases. So we need to convert. Because of that, we need to modify the title here by using what is called object and use what is called $ and then regex. And then it's equal to title. And then the second argument or property is going to be options. And the value is I. This means case insensitive. Now we are done with the filtering. The next one is that we need to implement the pagination. For the pagination, we will need the page and then the limit and the skip. Alright, so let's continue to implement that. Remember, for find, we can chain multiple properties. And for here, we have chained with a property called populate. And we can also chain these properties. For example, sort. That is sorting. So here, we will decide that we want to show the new post at the top. So here, I'm going to show the new post at the beginning of the list. Because of that, I'm going to provide an object, and as created at, I'm going to use a value of -1. This means that new post will be shown at the top. Now, if I save it, it has formatted as that. Now, let's implement the pagination. For pagination, we have what is called skip. Skip simply means that the number of content that we want to skip before getting the others. And for this one, we are going to use some simple calculations here. So inside, we're going to take the page number, which is from the query here. And then we subtract 1 from it. So let me wrap this one inside curly braces as that's supposed to be this one. And then we're going to multiply by the limit. This one will give us the number of content that we want to skip. And next one is going to be the limit. So here, if I use limit and provide 1, it simply means that I want to show 1 content per page. If I save it, and now let's make the request without passing in these properties. Now I'm fetching all, but let's see. As you can see, we got one post because we are saying that we are returning only one post by providing 1 to the limit. So here, we're going to provide the limit as default up there. Now, if I send, it's going to return 10 documents. If I provide 2 over here, it's going to return 2 documents. Now, let's see. And indeed, we have 2 documents, 1 and 2. Awesome. So let's make it more dynamic by passing in the limit here as that. Next step is that let's send some data back to the client. So here I want to send the total post. The total post here will depend based on the filtering. So here we are going to make it more dynamic, and I will say total post here is equal to await the post model. On that, we have a method as count document, and we're going to pass in the filter. And for the response, we are going to send post here, and also I want the current page. We will need this one on the front end to implement the pagination as current page, which is equal to the page from the query. And then we will say per page, meaning number of content per page, and we will say it is the limit. And then the total pages, which is equal to the math.cu, because we don't want any decimal places. And here we're going to use total post divided by the limit. Awesome. Now we are done with the pagination and then the filtering. Let's try out. If I hit send, now let's see down here, we're going to see the details about our query. We have the current page as 1. Per page is 10, and total pages we have 2. But in case I provide page number, let me say on page 2, I want to see the other content. Now if I hit send, let's see, as you can see, we are on the page 2. That's the current page. And here we have 10 documents on that page. At the moment, we don't have that much. And if I say end operator, then provide limit equal to 1, meaning I want to return 1 document. And indeed, we have 1 document. Now let's see, this is the 1 document. As you can see, now we have 15 pages because we have 15 documents, and I'm displaying 1 document per page. So this is how we're going to do it on the front end. Let's also make sure that the searching is working. So here I will say title is equal to HTML. If I hit send, now I think we have something different. But remember, we are using what is called the description. We don't have a title for the document, but instead we have the description. So here we're going to change this one to description. Awesome. Now with this one, let's try out. This one is supposed to be description as that. Yeah. So now if I hit send, description is not defined. Let me see. Supposed to be title. Yeah, this one is the title that we are searching for. Yeah. And now it worked, because for this description we have HTML inside. Now the searching is working, the filtering is working, and then the pagination is also working. Let's move on to the front end and then implement that.